On this episode of Carnage, we're getting the MX5 ready to race. We are just 2 weeks out from Summernats Slam, and while we're waiting on parts for the Lexan, we figure it's just as good a time as any to get the MX5 ready to race. So Summernats Slam is going to be pretty cool. They've already sold 5,000 spectator tickets, so it's going to be huge. And, well, the MX5 is teched, ready to race. Well, sort of ready to race. We've still got to do a couple little items. We've got a short list of things to check off, all very easy stuff, but roll cage is certed, everything's ready to go in terms of that. So yeah, it's happening. MX5 will be racing within 2 weeks. Let's check out the list. And this is our list. It's not a big list and it's all very easy stuff to fix. There's a couple things that we're going to have to lose. Sorry, but that's just the way of it. And yeah, once we get this done, we can race it. Finally, we can race the Mazda. It's been a long time coming, I've got to say. But, all right, let's walk through the list. Let's have a look. So, first item is fix the chute cable, which the chute cable is fine, but they're just concerned that it slips in and out a little bit, and it is important that the chute activates. So we're just going to fix that in place so that the cable outer sleeve doesn't move, and that way the chute will activate when we pull the lever. Yeah, we definitely want that to work. Then we've got to put a sticker for our isolation switch. So it's just got to go there, pointing to our little isolation switch to let the track officials know where it is. We've got to fix the bonnet. Let's go have a look at that. So, because we haven't been racing the car, and even when we were racing it, we just pinned the front of the bonnet and the rear kind of just flapped about a bit. It wasn't a big deal, but they really want us to fix it. So rather than pinning the rear, what we're going to do is have bonnet pins on the front, and the hinges are still in place there, and so are the bolts. We'll just bolt the rear of the bonnet and have it hinged. Pretty easy. Now, the exhaust system, which they like the fact that we've run it down, but it needs an X bar in the exhaust to stop, well, in case of a turbo failure, they don't want the turbine wheel exiting the exhaust and hurting someone. So we're going to put a crossbar in the exhaust. That's very easy. One-way vision. So our eyes on our windscreen have to go. And it's not for the reasons you might imagine. Looking out through that way, you can actually see quite well. Looking inwards, you can't. So for the officials at the track, they need to know that what they're telling me through hand signals is being acknowledged. And if they're looking in from the front, they can't see my reactions inside the car. You know, I'm going to be belted into the car with arm restraints and stuff like that, so you know, I'm not going to be able to reach up and wave or anything like that. Everything's going to be through the windscreen. So windscreen sticker has to come off. Holes in the firewall, that's pretty standard. We just make sure that we have rubber plugs and bungs in the firewall. Roll bar padding. Okay, so in the past we have had a soft pool noodle type roll bar padding, and it's not legal, you know, like no racing authority in the world likes that stuff. We only put it on this car purely to stop us from banging our head on the roll cage when we got in and out. You know, it's nice and soft, but the stuff is super flammable. When it does burn and melt, it melts all over you, which is really bad. So you need proper SFI padding, and we'll show you that stuff shortly. It is super hard, but it is made to go around this bar stuff, stick to it. It's the proper stuff, so we need to do that. And what else we got to do? Well, apart from that, we're going to put an IC7 dash in there, which is sitting in the passenger seat there. So we're going to put an IC7 dash in this car rather than the IQ3. The IQ3 seems to interfere with our Barra computer and causes us all sorts of dramas. But if we put the IC7 in there, we can run a CAN barra unit, which then works with a barra computer, and all will be good with the world. At the moment, I've got no idea what my RPM is, oil pressure, temperature, nothing. I don't know any information. So we need to put that dash in this car in the next 2 weeks, so we know at least what the RPM is, you know. And then goes to the dyno, we test it with the new wastegate spring. Should make 600 horsepower at the tyres and should go 9s down the quarter. And that's what this episode's all about. Let's get it ready so we can take it out there and run 9s. It's nice and late. Okay, so there's a nut for you. How easy was that? I ain't going anywhere. Okay, well, let's poke him in the eyes. Almost there. Ah, last little bit, tears. Come on. He's got no eyes, but at least we can see. They reckon some prep sol or prep wash. Give it a bit of a trial. Seems to work well. Just wipe away the old sticker residue. Okay, well that's done. And looking a lot better. The next thing on the list is to fix the chute cable, and the idea is that when we push the chute lever forward, that it doesn't just slide the outer sheath and not deploy the parachute. So to fix that in place, we're just going to put a little hose clamp around the outer sheath. We'll do it up there. We'll pop that back into that. There we go. Now we'll just do up our hose clamp and we'll be good. That is solid as. Done. And just to prove that it works, I guess we should pull the chute lever. We have never done this, so this is going to be interesting. See how we go. Okay, deploying parachute now. Next up, we've got our roll bar padding. So this is Jazz stuff. It's got the SFI logo on it, so you know it's legal for what we need it to do. So we're just going to cut it with a knife. See how we go. Look at that. That's pretty easy, if not really straight, but there we go. All right, so it's got some sticky stuff on it, but we'll also use a bit of cable tie action on it as well, just to help it stick in place. So we'll just peel back the adhesive. There we go. And stick it in there. Sort of angle it towards the head, I reckon. Put one right in there in the bend. So a little tech tip, if you cut it with a pair of side cutters, you'll probably end up with a sharp edge. Ouch. So what you do is get your Stanley knife, and obviously using it very carefully, just go sideways and just trim it off, like so. And now that is nice and smooth. So obviously this stuff comes in different diameters. So this is 1 5/8 tubing, that's 1 1/4 inch tubing. So, you know, you need to have the right diameter for the right tubing. This stuff's actually made by Kirky, the bigger stuff, so yeah. So we're gonna go that bar, and that bar, and a little bit on that bar. Anywhere my helmet could contact during an accident. So yeah. That's why we've got a couple lengths. So the idea of this stuff is to protect your head in the case of an accident, all right? Pool noodle stuff, I mean, in a high impact, your helmet's gonna basically punch straight through that stuff right to the bar, so it might as well not be there. This stuff is actually pretty hard. You'd hate to get whacked in the noggin with that with no helmet. However, with a helmet on, with the helmet impacting that, it will slow the impact down so you're not actually hitting hard on that bar. Yeah, it's all about risk minimization. All right, next part. And we're done. All right. Yeah. So that helmet's actually sitting against the pad right there anyway. So, no, it's a good idea. Just gonna kind of suck having the helmet against the bar going down the track. It's gonna be awesome. Halfway there. Cool. So now we're up to our isolation switch stickers. Vinyl cut by Matt behind the camera. Yes, he makes these up himself and sells them on eBay and whatever. He's got a vinyl cutter. So we're going to peel one off. We're going to stick it there with a point pointing to where the lid hinges up. So that way scrutineers or track personnel and that will know how to shut the power off to the car if it becomes necessary. So put the point there. And there. So now they know they just have to lift the lid, turn the power on, away we go. Hear it all click and carry on. Shut it off. Cool. Thanks, Matt. Awesome. All right. Moving on. So we've been smashing out the list. We're a fair way through it actually. Now we're up to our dash. So we're going to fit the Haltech IC7 dash. Now the car has had this Haltech spec IQ3 dash for ages, you know. So this is basically Haltech's version or Haltech's spec race pack dash. So we've had this dash for like 5 years, and it was fine in the LS where we had it all wired up correctly, that sort of thing. But ever since we put the Barra in the car, it doesn't work because it doesn't talk to the Barra computer. So the guys who mounted this for us, LS Extreme, they wired it and mounted it and made a nice sort of carbon fibre panel out of 4mm plate. Looked really good. Mounted it in the original housing, that's all fine. I don't think I need to mount it in the housing, so I've made up a plate also out of 4mm. It's a little bit rougher looking, just plain black, but we're just going to mount that into that, and we should have IC7 goodness in the car. We also won't need to mount the e-boost because we'll read the boost through the dash. So yeah, should be pretty awesome. All right, I'll just attach A to B and we'll move on to the wiring part. So Haltech give you a couple of very short 5mm screws because they can only go 6mm into the back of the dash. So they give you some very short 5mm screws to attach it to something thin. Like I said, we use some 4mm aluminium plate. Just Phillips head, don't go overboard on tightening them. It's solid as, should work fine. So when changing from the IQ3 to the IC7, there's a couple little things that you have to make note of. One is that they use the same AMP 34-pin connector. However, the wiring for each of those connectors is totally different. Nothing is the same. So we're going to have to de-pin the wiring that's in the car, so if we want to use all the blinkers and stuff, which we do, we'll make all the blinkers and lights and everything work. But yeah, we need to de-pin the connector that's in the car and then pin some of that into this. But the beauty is that these AMP connectors are the easiest connector in the world to de-pin. So they've got a tab right here. All you do is get your thumbnail, click that down, and now you can pull wiring out. So I'll just pull one pin. See, you can pull that one out. You can pull all of them out if you want, but that's also the important part is you don't want to pull all the wires out. You want to just pull one out at a time. So plug that back in. Push that down and it's locked in place. Doesn't go anywhere. So super simple to de-pin as long as you know what you're doing. So yeah, we're going to have to de-pin that plug, pin them into this so we can then plug it in because the CAN is going to read through that. Bill's going to come over later with a CAN Barra unit so we can plug it into the Barra computer. That will talk to this dash. And all will be right with the world. Now you're probably wondering, why aren't you doing that with this dash? And the problem is, this dash is that old that the CAN Barra unit won't talk to it. So we need to use the later IC7 dash. CAN Barra unit will work with that fine, but yeah, it does not work with this. We'll keep this dash for something else later down the road, you know, because we can wire this in with, you know, a Haltech computer any day of the week. So it'll work well with a Haltech, just won't work with the Barra computer. Anyway, let's do some wiring. Right, let's unlock this connector. There we go, click. Alright, we'll start with left hand indicator. And that goes into 22. Alright, next one. Right, so I've done my part of the wiring. Bill Hooton from Hooton's Harnesses has come in and fitted the can barrow unit, so that allowing that to plug into the dash. So now all we need to do is screw our little dash unit in. It's just sitting in place. So I'll screw that in and we'll power it up. Last one. Gotta say, this is a pretty comfortable car to sit in once you're in it, but working in here is a bit of a nightmare. It is so tight. Alright, that dash looks pretty solid, I reckon. Just double check these. Okay, peel off the seal. Get our cluster cover. Right. Click and click. Oh, how good does that look? All right, power on. Yahtzee. Here we go. Alrighty. Says air temp's 15 degrees, coolant temp is 12, fuel pressure is 12 psi, battery voltage is 11.8. Let's fire it up, see what it says. All right. Well, I'll call that great success. Awesome. Okay. I guess all we need to do now is, I'll tie the computer up somewhere so it's not just sitting on a cardboard box. And I think, let's check our list. Yeah, fit IC7, done. Put cross and exhaust. All right, let's do that. So let's put that crossbar in the exhaust. Oh. Done. It's a little Frankenstein, but hey, it's how we roll. Right, so we've done the cross and the exhaust, we've also done the grommets and the firewall. You didn't really need to see that. Everything is crossed off the list, which means the car is pretty much ready to race. The only thing we're waiting on at the moment is Telf's taken the fire bottle off to get recharged. So that will go back in the car before we race it. But yeah, next weekend, Summernats Slam, it's going to be awesome. They've already sold 6,000 spectator tickets. This thing's going to be huge. And the little Mazda's going to be out there running nines. But before we do that, we're going to head to the dyno, and you're going to see that on the next episode of Carnage.